welcome back to the channel. Man, I am so excited today and so lucky. My friends at Honda and Acura arranged for me to come down and take a look at the Type S. As all of you know, George Kudo is a very close friend of mine, and that's probably to his disadvantage because he always has to hear from me. But a combined effort, and my good friend John Yoshinaga has been working with me a long time on getting this all set up as far as purchasing it. So when the opportunity came up and George asked me if I wanted to take a look at it before anybody else could see it, I of course wanted to come this way. But many of you know that I'm a family man, so luckily I was able to tie in a trip to Disneyland to satisfy Drew and Natalia. Many of you with kids know how that goes. So if I seem a little bit out of it, it is because I am very short on the sleep department today. We were able to get up bright and early, and George met us down here, and I just have to say, wow, the car is just insane. I'm so excited. And many of you may not know this, but I actually haven't even really seen an NC1 very close up. And right here they had one, so I was really able to break it down, what I'm getting into. And I gotta say that it's just an amazing ride. I mean, comparatively speaking, most of you know that I have a fairly decent car collection consisting of Lambos and Ferraris, but I mean, this car visually can hold its own for sure. So I'll just walk around real quick for those of you that are interested in this car and just point out some of the things that I really like and go from there. But I mean, just looking at this car is a Gotham Gray. Many of you know I love yellow, which is gonna be to my disadvantage. I was actually told that the Gotham Gray is gonna run in the beginning because there are so many of them, and there aren't a whole lot of people like me that love yellow, so there are very few cars, and I'm going to be more towards the end, which is good and bad, but I'm excited because that would make mine even more limited. But if we look at this, the new front nose design, comparing it, it's super angular, and I would almost say when I compare this to my other vehicles, it almost has a Lambo type look to it. And then of course, you know, many of you know that the hood is very similar, but you have the nice venting which ties everything together. The car just looks sleek as it sits here and looks very fast. I mean, I love carbon fiber more than life itself. You can see here that the carbon fiber roof is just top tier. As we take a closer look at the front nose, you can see that the carbon fiber accents, this is just right up my alley. I mean, this really does the trick as far as those small details that make cars amazing. And Honda's carbon work here is second to none. I mean, it is every bit as good as all the other carbon work on my cars. But you can see how they tied it into the front nose. Even the center splitter with the Gotham Gray, I mean, those accents really help make the carbon pop. Because as many of you know, when it's very close to the ground, a lot of times with the street, it kind of ties in. The carryover is the carbon fiber side sills that are very low and sleek. But the amazing thing is that they help tie everything together. The side vents for the intercoolers are just integrated, so they look amazing. And with the upgraded intercooler, of course, that's only going to help things. As we walk around the back here, you can see that they have the nice carbon fiber wing, and I mean, just the theme. So for those of you that are keeping track, you got the carbon fiber on the front nose, the roof, the side sills, and the wing. Boy, does it get any better than that? Well, yes, it does, because the diffuser, modeled right off of their GT3 race car, is all in carbon fiber as well. Now, putting this all together, it just makes it all work. It's really nice, and I'm so excited that it'll be coming to the collection. And I mean, for me, just seeing this and being able to see it early is, you know, I mean, all my cars have a story, but the cool thing is that this quite possibly will have the best story out of all my cars. Even though the vents on the front fenders are shared between the regular NC1, it actually just seems to integrate better for me, looking at the package with the hood vents and the vents on the front nose. It is just quite finished, I must say. And if you gotta talk about it, balanced. The whole car is very balanced. You can just kind of see that there are these differences that added up together make the whole package incredibly appealing. Many of you know that 5-star split spoke is my favorite type of wheel. So you can see here that Acura has a new redesigned forged wheel that, to my understanding, is not only lighter and stronger, they were actually able to widen the track through the offset, which is very, very crafty. Gives them a proven package to start out with. but the wheels just look phenomenal. These are gloss black. I believe I went with the matte. And most likely, as all of you know, even though I love the design of these wheels, I can't help myself, so I'll probably end up changing them. But you can see right here that this car is equipped with the lightweight package, and that is the same thing that I opted to go with. And I have to say that it's definitely the way to go if you're thinking about it. It's a mere $13,000, I believe, but getting the carbon ceramic brakes, and I hate to say this, but for me, I love carbon ceramic brakes. There is the performance aspect of it, but I just love the way they look. And because I'm short on getting help from Drew these days, biggest advantage for me is that I don't have to clean my wheels as much, as ridiculous as that sounds. But you can see that they just fill up that whole front wheel. And even in the back, I mean, it is definitely the way to go. Now, another advantage is you save over 50 pounds. And all of you know that I love to save weight. The complications of the Type S with the hybrid system are beyond me. That's why luckily I'm friends with people that are geniuses like George that know more than I will ever know. But when I look at a car like this for me, the obvious choice is trying to lose weight because I don't know how to enhance a hybrid system. Of course, looking at the engine side, that is something that I have a little bit of experience with. So I will probably look at that as gaining in power. But weight, it's amazing because some people comment on the channel that, oh, I want to lose weight so I can go faster, so you know I could possibly drag race. But here's the deal. Weight is just the enemy in all means. When I say that, I mean that basically the car's whole balance is dependent on that. So obviously one of the key things about the NSX is it has the greatest balance. I mean, that's its hat trick, and it performs like a supercar but is livable every day. And looking at my cars, that's a rare commodity. But the key is making it all work together. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to go crazy on this car because of many various things. That might not be the best way to go because they're only going to make 350 of them. They're most likely going to be a collector's item. I'm sure if you're in the NSX know, all of you know already that the NC1 is already gaining value. As I take a close look at the rear bumper of the regular NSX and the Type S, the Type S is just more. And you know, when I look at it, this entire package, what it kind of reminds me of, honestly, is a regular Aventador versus an SV. Now, maybe not taken to that extreme, but they just made everything better. I mean, the diffuser's just, obviously, as we know, race-inspired from the GT3 car. It just doesn't get any better than that. And the venting on the back, I mean, it's amazing because they're not really that big of changes, but boy, in the entire setup, it just does make a whole different car at the back end as well. Then you look at the wing on top, and as I said before, it just ties it all together. So to me, the rear is really nice on the regular NSX. It just is a level above and beyond on the Type S. Now, one of the most important reasons that I came down here was, since I hadn't seen the car in real life, I wanted to get an idea of what I might do to kind of make it like my own, as many of my other cars are. And the situation is getting quite dire as far as getting parts. Everything is getting very, very difficult to get. I'm sure most of you have seen on the news all the issues with freight coming in. A lot of things are back ordered. It took a very long time just to get the springs for the SV, but luckily my friend that owns SP Engineering, Alex, really came through for me when I couldn't find it anywhere else. So I'm trying to get in line at the various places to get the parts that I might want. Now the difficult part being is that the wizardry that Acura has done, it's difficult to know what they changed. And even though George is all-knowing, everything is just too new right now. But I did kind of get an idea of the things I'd be looking at. To me, I don't want to say that I'd be destroying perfection, as many of you probably would. I mean, honestly, if you just get the Type S and shelf it, you're probably going to be a whole lot smarter than me because that's going to be the most valuable unit in the future. But me being me, there are a few things that I would try and address. One being is that I would like to lower it a bit. Now, if you look at the suspension, it's got a very technological magnetic shock strut setup, but I would like the ability to lower it a little bit. Now, since I haven't driven around the regular NSX, I was able to have a conversation with George about it, And he did tell me that it is a issue to scrape. And unlike all of you, I just cringe when I hear that sound. So some options I would have is iBock has a spring kit that lowers it, and also iLift makes a system that lowers it and I can lift the car. The problem being is that I believe the iLift system may increase the weight by 23 plus or minus pounds. And the difficult part of that is that you spend all that money to get the lightweight kit. And you save like your 50 pounds and then you add on 13 pounds. That's of course for you to decide, but for me, that is a tough decision. But I do feel like having it a little bit lower to the ground will make it look like it's going fast, even when I'm driving very slow. As I look at the hood, which looks very similar to the hood on the regular NSX, I already like the layout. The one thing I'll say though is these vents are just amazing looking and tie everything together. For myself, I would love to change those to carbon fiber. Now, whether that be replicating the part, getting new ones, I don't know, but that's one thing I would think about. And of course, then you have to tie in with the front nose. On the front nose already, it looks so good. This strip right here might be something I might look at in changing carbon fiber. But from what I can tell, it looks like it's integrated into the nose. So I'm not exactly sure what my options would be on that, but something on the back of my mind. Also, of course, the mirrors just look really good with the black, with the body color accent. For me, an option might be to look at those in carbon fiber. As far as the engine, even though the hybrid system is insanely complex, it's not like the gas engine 3.5 liter isn't at the same level. I want to be very careful that I don't do something to disrupt everything else and create more problems for myself. But initially what I'm thinking of is I would like to change the downpipes. I would most likely still use some sort of high flow cat. I've looked at various brands, and at least my current state right now, Science of Speed looks like that would be the best option for me. As far as the exhaust, it's tough. I would actually like to go with titanium or Inconel, but I'm not 100% sure. And weight, sound, that'll all matter. Now the big question is it the same layout as the regular MC1? And the honest answer is I have no idea. I'm trying to find out myself, but hopefully in the near future I'll find out, be able to order some parts, and then that way I won't get caught in more of the shortage. As far as doing anything else to the engine, I am looking at doing some high flow air filters, but nothing too extreme. As all of you know, with limited production cars, it might be best not to mess around too much with them and devalue them, as I am very good at doing these days. But I mean, you look at it and everything is just right about it. You know, it's already got the GT3 turbos on it, they upgrade intercoolers, they change the fuel systems, upgrade the injectors. I mean, you put all these together, I don't really feel the need to mess with all of those. So, you know, like as we talked about, downpipes and exhaust. The exhaust, of course, honestly, beyond power would be the sound. I mean, you all heard it here, the car sounds amazing, but I would like to probably enhance that a bit as my hearing's going as I get older. And that might be just too many passes in the Pro car. It has been well documented what Acura did to make the Type S a Type S. I'll just go over a few of my favorite specs. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, 600 horsepower, 492 pounds of torque, definitely enough to make it a contender. One thing that Ferrari's done on their newer cars that wasn't an option when I bought mine was they have the passenger side dash. That to me is very, very cool. So one thing I'm considering on my NSX is potentially modifying the glove box housing and using an AEM dash on this side. I, of course, would have to enlist the expertise of JC to get it handled for me, but it does look like the AEM dash has the ability to integrate into the OBD2 plug, which should allow it to source the information for the dash, and I could display it for myself when Drew's tearing it up, which I don't know if that's actually a good thing. That might just frighten me more. Getting a chance to talk to George about the power plant, not the hybrid power plant, the gas power plant, is just an amazing experience. With his knowledge, it's just great to hear what I can or cannot do, which honestly what it becomes is a list of what I cannot do to the car. Now, I obviously would not go crazy with the Type S because it's already a collector's edition in its own right. But the technology is amazing, and I always want to know, can I get more out of it? But George's advice to me is probably not the best idea, as he made me aware of certain things that Honda can do to track back on what you might have done to the car, which could inherently affect that all-important warranty. You know, this is the first time I've sat in any new NSX, let alone the Type S. And I'm gonna say a lot of what I hear is true. I mean, it just feels like home. It's reminiscent of my original NSX. Of course, everything's been updated, but to me, it just feels right. Boy, man, it is comfortable. And comparatively speaking, of course, to the Ferraris and Lamborghinis, I don't know that there's any match here. But when I look around, to me, everything looks very contemporary. I mean, I'll see on occasion that someone will mention that they feel that things could be updated in the new NSX. But honestly, to me, this car's phenomenal. I mean, everything looks top-notch. The dash looks great. I mean, and it just feels good. I think that's something you just can't get in a lot of cars. Now, will I be taking mine on long road trips? The reality is no, probably not. I mean, I will drive it as much as I can, but as all of you know, with life and family, that doesn't leave a lot of time to enjoy these things. But I'll definitely do as much as I can. The coolest thing about being down here is that it is vacant. Nobody's here. And of course, I owe my life to George and coming in to just hang with me. And he was able to hang for quite a while today, when usually the complexities of life make it difficult for us to just hang out. And I was able to ask him a few things, and a couple really cool things came up. And one is that, as all of you know, the NSX is dual clutch, and this would be my first dual clutch car. All my other cars are single clutch. But one thing he told me that was really insane is that they've never heard of a transmission problem. Now, that's not to say that someone's going to comment and say, well, my friend, or this happened to me. But as far as Acura, they haven't seen any problems with the transmission. So to me, that is great peace of mind. But we must remember, at its heart, it's an Acura. And what does that mean? Well, it's going to be reliable, and it's probably going to run forever, and performance will be top tier. I have a fair amount of experience working on the first generation NSX, especially building and rebuilding engines, thankfully to JC, who taught me how to do all of that, which applied to the Pro car. Now, as far as working on the first generation NSX itself in entirety, well, that'd be George. He is Mr. NSX. And so I had to ask him, what am I up against on this Type S? How difficult is it going to be to service? And his words were to me, it will be much more difficult than the first generation NSX. Obviously not mission impossible, because it is an Acura, and we all know that they have the best engineering around as far as reliability and performance. So I'll just have to get into it and see what I'm up against. Well, my friends, we are down here on Sunday and taking George's day off. Luckily, wait a minute, I'm sorry. George doesn't get a day off, but taking his time, let's put it that way. He was nice enough to come down here and open up Honda's shop, which I must mention is immaculate. I've not had very many opportunities to come down here because everything that's being worked on is top secret, but it is quite amazing to see everything that is encapsulated in what they do here. But the coolest thing for me was seeing the NSX Type S and being able to hang out with George on that. So other than that, I think it's time to just go ahead and head out. I do want to say thanks to John Yoshinaga for helping me coordinate all the other things that's been going on with the NSX Type S in the background, and Acura PR for giving me the green light to come down here and take a look at it before anyone else had had a chance to see it, which has just been phenomenal. On that note, my friends, I hope all of you have a great weekend. I'm going to go ahead and pack up the girls and head home.